Ah, the squat. We all know it, right? It's the king of leg exercises, a total cornerstone of just about every fitness program out there. But for so many of us, that deep bend comes with a sharp, really unwelcome pain right there in the front of the knee. Today, we're going to dive deep into the science to figure out if our favorite exercise is secretly our knee's worst enemy. So what's the deal? Are squats really the ultimate tool for building those powerful legs, or are they actually a ticking time bomb for our joints? That is the big question we're going to answer. We're going to unpack the evidence and see what's really happening inside your knee every time you squat.
All right, let's talk about that specific ache right at the front of your knee. It actually has a name, and understanding it is the very first step. It's called patellofemoral pain syndrome, and it is incredibly common.
So patellofemoral pain syndrome, or a PFPS, because that's a mouthful, is that classic pain you feel right around or even behind your kneecap. If going up and down stairs feels like a chore, or if your knees just ache after sitting at your desk all day, this probably sounds pretty familiar. It's so common with active people that it even has a nickname, runners.
And look, when I say this is common, I am not kidding. Research shows that PFFS affects nearly 1 in 4 people. That's almost 23% of the general population. So if your knees are giving you grief, you are definitely not alone. This isn't some rare freak injury. It's a super widespread issue.
So to really get to the bottom of this whole squat and knee pain connection, we're turning to a massive scientific review that did all the heavy lifting for us. And this wasn't just one study. It was a huge, comprehensive look at basically all the research out there. And just look at the sheer scale of this thing. The researchers started with, get this, over 6,000 different studies. After this incredibly rigorous filtering process, they narrowed it all down to the 37 most relevant, highest quality studies. This kind of systematic approach is exactly how you get to a really reliable, scientific answer. So what were they actually looking at? Well, this chart breaks it down. They analyzed a whole range of movements, but the one that got the most attention? Yep, the good old back squat. It made up over a third of their focus. That tells us the findings are directly relevant to how most of us are training in the gym.
Okay, now we're getting to the juicy part, the mechanics of the squat itself. The review pinpointed the specific movements and angles where the knee joint comes under the most stress. This is where the risk really starts to show up.
And here it is, the magic numbers 60 to 90 degrees. The research consistently found that the absolute peak tension on the patellofemoral joint, that's the spot where your kneecap meets your thigh bone, happens right in this range. For most people, this is the deepest part of the squat, and it's precisely where that joint is working its absolute hardest.
This leads us straight into one of the biggest debates in the gym, right? Don't let your knees go past your toes. Well, the data here speaks for itself. On the left, when the knee stays behind the toes, the stress on that patellar tendon is about 11.5%. But look at the right, when the knee travels forward past the toes, that stress shoots up to nearly 19%. That is a massive jump in force, right where you don't want.
But wait, it's not just about the angles and the forces. The review uncovered something deeper, a kind of hidden factor that often goes completely unnoticed: muscle imbalances. It turns out what muscles are firing, and more importantly, when they're firing, is absolutely crucial for your knee health. This is so fascinating. Check this out. It's all about the order your muscles fire in. In a healthy squat, your gluteus medius fires up first to keep your hips stable. Then your inner quad muscle, the VMO, kicks in to make sure your kneecap tracks nice and smoothly. But in people with knee pain, things get all out of whack. The VMO is late to the party. Instead, that big outer quad muscle jumps the gun and fires first, which can literally pull the kneecap slightly off track. It's like a game of tug-of-war that the inside of your knee is constantly losing. Okay, so we've identified the culprits. We understand the problem. Now for the most important part. What can we actually do about it? The good news is the review gives us a really clear roadmap for protecting our knees while we still get stronger. Let's break down that action plan. So here's your game plan, nice and simple. First things first, focus on your form. You have to prevent that inward knee collapse. Second, you've got to target those key stabilizer muscles we just talked about, your glutes and that inner quad, the VMO. Third, take a look at the overall muscle balance in your legs. And finally, just be mindful of how far forward your knees are traveling to keep that joint stress under control. It's a full-on, comprehensive approach to what is, a pretty complex problem.
But what if modifying your squat just isn't enough? Or maybe you're working around an injury and you need to build some serious lower body strength while giving your knees a much-needed break.
Well, the review highlighted one exercise in particular that fits that bill perfectly.
And the answer is the hip thrust. The research actually found that barbell hip thrusts triggered superior muscle activation in the glutes compared to the squat, and it did all that with minimal stress on the knee joint. This makes it an absolutely incredible tool, not just for building a stronger posterior chain, but as a safe, super effective option for anyone who's managing knee pain.
So, we're going to leave you with this one question to think about. The goal of any exercise is to create a positive change, right? To get stronger. But take a look at your own techniques. Are you actually training to build strength, or are you just adding unnecessary stress to your joints? Understanding the science, just like we've covered today, is really the key to making sure every single rep you do is moving you closer to your goals without the pain.